So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about bettas in this video, and I'm talking about betta fish. Um, so bettas, a lot of people think can live in these tiny little fish bowls with no heat, no filters. People think that they're super easy to take care of, and they are actually relatively hardy and somewhat easy to take care of. But what you may not know is a lot of people think, oh, I kept my betta alive for a year or maybe even 2 years, and you think that's a long time. Bettas actually can live an average of 5 to 10 years in good, healthy conditions for them. So a little bit about where they come from. They are native to Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, etc. So they're tropical fish, and they like for their water to be anywhere from 78 to 82 degrees, an average being right around 80 degrees. So for them to live in ideal conditions, you need to have a heater in your tank, which a lot of people don't have. A reason that they can survive so well in the tiny little fish bowls is because a lot of where they're native to will have rains and then have periods of drought. And so what they do is a lot of times, like, the river that they're in will dry up and they'll just be like little puddles. And so they can actually live in the little puddles for brief periods of time, and that's what they are made to do. And one thing you also may not know about bettas is they are crazy jumpers, and if you don't have a top on your tank, they will jump out. And the reason is they jump from those tiny little puddles to another tiny little puddle to find more food, to another tiny little puddle. And that's the way they survive until the rains come and until they have their water source again. And so that's why they can live, but this isn't the way they're supposed to live forever. So if you keep a betta and you really want to do right by your betta and you want your betta to be healthy and you really just care about your pet, then I highly, highly recommend at least a 1-gallon tank, preferably a 5-gallon tank, at least a 1-gallon tank with a filter, because let's face it, all fish need filtration. It keeps the water healthy. It gets up all the nastiness. It's just so much better for your fish to have a filter. Preferably your tank needs to be cycled, and I've done another video on this, and you definitely need a heater. Bettas are also called fighting fish, and the reason for this is the males, if you put 2 males together, they will fight, and they have a reputation for being very mean, and they will flare their little side gills, and that's how you know that they're agitated. What you may not know, though, is that bettas are actually capable of being community fish, which means that you can actually put your betta in with other fish as long as you do your research. Not all fish are going to be compatible with the betta, but I've actually had my betta in a community tank for over a year and a half now, and he does fine. He doesn't pay any attention to them. I have him in with some little tetras, some bloodfin tetras, and he doesn't mind them at all. However, it's always an experimental game if you want to add some other fish in with your betta, because they may not like them. And I learned with my betta, the fish that are rounded, he doesn't like, but the blood fins that are in there with him are kind of really narrow, and those he doesn't mind. So if you are going to try a community tank with your betta, just make sure you have a way to separate them if it doesn't work. And you can pretty much tell right away. If he flares at them and kind of goes at them, it may not work out. Some other fish that are pretty good usually with bettas are cory catfish, some shrimps. You can have shrimp and snails, that kind of thing. But make sure if you are going to do a community tank, you need at least a 10-gallon tank or bigger, just because the sheer amount of fish. Bettas in a 1-gallon need to just be by themselves, basically. So those are just a few little facts about bettas. I know we see them everywhere where people keep them in tiny, even the fish stores sell these tiny little bowls, basically, and it just breaks my heart because it's just not the way that they are meant to survive, and it's not really doing right by them. And there's no judgment for anybody that does it any other way. In fact, I've kept bettas like that before in the past, before really understanding the way that they need to be living. So, yeah. Anyways, if you guys have any questions, let me know. If you have any suggestions about other good community fish with your bettas, I'd love to know. Thanks for watching.